Today on Jay Secchio Live, an update on the battle against the Ground Zero Mosque.
This is not getting discussed on the mainstream media. Not only are they wrong legally, but the fact that they would do this is outrageous. This is an overreaction and really nonsense. How would you react if this was your son or your daughter? It's the offense of knowing the truth. It's the offense of having an alternate worldview. Saying God bless you to someone is not a violation of the law.
Welcome to the broadcast, everyone, and welcome our television audience here as well. We want to give you an update on the situation at the mosque at Ground Zero. Remember, there is a proposal originally by Imam Rauf to put up at the site of Ground Zero a mosque, a 15-story edifice, and it's been called the Ground Zero Mosque. Now, we've been in court on that issue, and interestingly, in the last hearing we had just a few weeks back, the judge said we will take the statements of the lawyers for the developer saying we're not intending to build it right now until we get the money. We still have a long way to go. And he took their word for that, and we consented that that's enough for the project not to go forward for now. So it was a first phase win, if you will, in court. The judge denied the TRO, but he said, I'm only denying the TRO because the developer's lawyer said we're not developing it right now. But they continue to press forward, and there have been some fascinating developments about the mosque at Ground Zero. This idea that you'd build a monument at the site of 9/11. It's basically a monument to the terrorists. But, Jordan, we've been through now not one, but two imams associated with this. We've got them on the run here in a very real way.
Yeah, ever since our legal challenges began, Imam Faisal Rauf, the one who did all of the interviews on television, was going to tour the country and promote the new Park 51 mosque. He's gone. He is off the project. He's quit now. He's no longer the official imam. Then there was a new imam, Abdullah Adhami, who was appointed to fill Faisal Rauf's role. It came out about him, he called himself a Sharia expert, that he gave a speech, a well-documented speech in the media on camera, saying that it was okay to jail apostates from Islam, people who have left the Islamic faith, if they were public apostates. If they were private apostates, Islam couldn't do anything about it. Then he attacked homosexuals, and that was it. He's out the door now at the Ground Zero
And this
Mosque.
was supposed to be the moderate imam. These are Rauf and this new one were supposed to be the moderates. But what's happening, folks, is because of our efforts, because of your efforts, they're under a microscope. The imams are under a microscope. Those that are financing this are under a microscope. And the fact of the matter is, we've got them on the run, but they're still insisting they're moving forward with this mosque at Ground Zero. Now, in the next segment of the broadcast, I'm going to take you to the site of Ground Zero with Tim Brown. He's the former fire department member, fireman, that was on the site of Ground Zero working with the mayor's office in a leadership capacity there. He's going to take us to the site because remember the argument, this is not the site of Ground Zero, this is not near Ground Zero. We're going to tell you exactly how close it is. But the President of the United States, whose Department of Justice will not allow a cross-up at the Mojave Desert, even though we've won the case at the Supreme Court of the United States. He says a mosque at Ground Zero, oh, that's absolutely fine. Soundbite number one.
I think my statement at the iftar dinner in the White House was very clear, and that is that if you can build a church on that site, if you can build a synagogue on that site or a Hindu temple on that site, then we can't treat people of the Islamic faith differently who are Americans, who are American citizens.
So there you have it. That's the President of the United States statement on this. Now, I think, look, can you put up a mosque in New York City? Yes. Do you put that mosque at the site of Ground Zero? No. Would you put a monument to the kamikaze pilots that attacked Pearl Harbor? Answer, no, you would not. That's just called inappropriate. Legally speaking, also, understand this. This is a landmark building. This is a building that's 150 years old that will be torn down. Now, if anybody else was going to build there, it would have never been torn down. But because Muslims want to build a mosque there, all the rules change. That's why we're in court.
Yeah, that's right. They have no money. They've admitted our last court hearing with them, and that's why we're doing this broadcast to keep you updated, because we're in court against Park 51 and the Ground Zero Mosque developers. They admitted that we're having financial problems. Why are they having financial problems? They're being fought every which way in the legal challenges. They're being exposed. They can't keep an imam on for more than a couple months. Some Muslims don't want to be associated with them anymore. Others who become associated are exposed as the radicals that they are. And Abdullah Abhami is just another imam to go by the wayside because of his involvement in Park 51. It came forward that this was someone who said it was okay to jail converts from Islam to Christianity. Think about the Great Commission. How on earth could a former Muslim who became a Christian be following their faith without following the Great Commission that we read in Matthew? That's the point here. They want silence or punishment.
Yeah, they do that at the United Nations, too, just down the street from this proposed site at the Ground Zero Mosque, where they try to get this blasphemy law in place. Folks, here's what we want to do. We want to encourage you to stand with us, and you are, and we are winning the battle, but we need your help. Sign on to the briefs being filed on this case. Sign on to that letter to New York saying, no mosque at Ground Zero. Here's the number, 877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255 or ACLJ.org. I'm also going to send you a brand new feature-length film on radical Islam as our gift to you. Again, that number, 877-989-2255. Back with more in just a moment.
Americans know that Ground Zero, the site of the horrific 9/11 attacks at the World Trade Center in New York, is sacred ground. And most Americans, including New Yorkers, understand that this is not the place to build an Islamic mosque. But that hasn't stopped a number of imams from pushing forward with this insensitive project. The American Center for Law and Justice has filed suit to stop the project, and now the ACLJ is in court to convince the court that this is not the place to build a mosque. Thousands of you already have stood with us. Now, with this case in court, it is time to add your name to our committee to stop the Ground Zero Mosque. And if you add your name today, we'll send you 2 key resources: our new film focusing on the dangers of radical Islam, and our new booklet exploring the threat of Sharia law. Stand with the ACLJ, say no to the Ground Zero Mosque, and get these vital resources free, our gift to you. Call now 1-877-989-2255 or online aclj.org.
Welcome back to the broadcast, everyone. We're talking about the mosque at Ground Zero, giving you an update. 2 imams have been associated with this project. Both are now gone. We went to court. We're still in court. Requesting a temporary restraining order. The judge said he's not going to issue the order. The reason why, and this was good for us, is that the developers say they can't even move forward right now because, frankly, we've got them on the run on this issue, and that is very, very significant. I also want to let you know that we have a great offer for you that we put together. We want you to sign on our letters in support of the mosque at Ground Zero and having it defeated. We want you to sign on to briefs that are being filed on the case, letters to the Landmark Commission. So join our committee to defeat the mosque at Ground Zero. I've got a brand new full-length feature film called The Export, Radical Islam's Map to the End of Democracy. I'm going to play a bit of the trailer from that when we come back in the next segment, but just to let you know, this is something you're going to want. Guests like John Bolton, John Ashcroft, Oliver North. Full-length feature film is called The Export, Radical Islam's Map to the End of Democracy. We also have a booklet that goes with it, Sharia Law, Radical Islam's Threat to the U.S. Constitution. And we want to give all this to you. Just call us at 877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255 or aclj.org.
Let's get right to the phones. Jermaine calling from Georgia on line 5. Jermaine, welcome to JSECO Live.
I would just like to say, Mr. President, you and your administration have publicly tried to excommunicate yourselves from Christianity and to belittle Christians. Yet, like radical Muslims, you say one thing in America, and like Taqiyya Muslims, you go to Muslim audiences or radical Muslims and say something else.
You know, you talk about the Taqiyya issue, and you're right, Jermaine, on that one, because what happens under Taqiyya, under Islam theology, you could say one thing and then do something else. And that's the reality, I think, of what you've got to understand and what we're dealing with here in the scope of the nature when they want it. Why do they want a mosque at Ground Zero? What's the reason they want a mosque at Ground Zero? That's really the focus of all this.
Well, absolutely right, especially when you have these religious leaders that have been associated with it. Remember, Imam Faisal Rauf blamed the United States for the 9/11 attacks, called the U.S. criminal, said we were committing terrorism around the world. Then he quit because he couldn't take the heat anymore. He didn't want to be connected to this Ground Zero Mosque project. You have the Saudi Arabian government and the King of Saudi Arabia offering to buy another location, a hospital that was going to close in New York, reopen the hospital and put the mosque there. And these Park 51 developers said absolutely not. Why? It's all about money and symbolism. Then they get a new imam, and if you're just joining us, a brand new imam who is an expert on Sharia law, was supposed to be this great moderate. Then there's video footage of him giving a speech about putting Muslim converts, people who leave Islam, called apostates, in jail, saying that's okay if they were public apostates, and then attacking homosexuals. So you had conservatives and liberals as well saying, you know what, there's nothing pluralistic about building this monument at Park 51.
It's a monument of terror. This is interesting. The developer, Sharif El Gamal, was asked a question on CBS News. The question was, when you put this there, did you think this might, or propose to put it there, you think it might cause us a problem? Let's play soundbite number 6.
This building is located 2 blocks from the site of the most horrific attack on American soil in anyone's memory. And you say that when you first envisioned this project, it never crossed your mind that there would be controversy over that. You seem like such a smart guy. I'm surprised that it never crossed your mind.
Not once have I held my faith accountable for the horrific events of 9/11.
Let's take you to New York. This is a video of the site. I'm with Tim Brown. Take a listen to this. This will give you a real sense of what we're talking about. Then we'll take more of your calls when we come back. They're making the statements that this is not ground zero. Now, you and I are going to do a walk, and our cameras are going to follow us because, folks, let's head down this way. We're talking when the imam says that this is not at ground zero, that this is, he says that in that soft, smooth way that he says it. This is not ground zero. I'm nowhere near ground zero. I don't know what Tim and these others are saying when they say it's ground zero. Now, you and I are walking at a very leisurely, very slow pace. Now, we already said the landing gear went through here. Now, you're going to tell me when I come to this corner, which is, we walked, what, 50 feet, maybe?
Right.
By the time we're here, 50 yards, let's say. This building that we're going to look at in a moment, that's now being rebuilt.
Right.
What happened to it? Let us come around this way. You guys follow us this way. Okay, so now we're at the corner. So this took us a total of no time.
It's 60 steps, 60 paces
60 steps.
to here.
Oh, what's that over there?
Right. Now right here you have Fitterman Hall,
Which was destroyed.
which was destroyed on that day. Next to it, the new building, that's the new 7 World Trade Center.
What happened to the old World Trade Center 7?
It collapsed on September 11th. And then you have the 16 acres of the towers.
Which are right down here.
Right over here where the
So
cranes
folks,
are.
I want to put, I like to deal with evidence, and I want to get rid of a myth. The idea that this imam has the nerve to say that this is not on the site of ground zero, folks, here, we're at it. You should realize it took us 30 seconds to walk here at a slow pace to be right here with all this is. So the reality is you need to understand, and Tim, people need to understand that when we're looking at, this is downtown New York. I remember people running down these streets.
That's right.
With
that's
the
right.
smoke coming
the
down,
cloud,
the debris.
Right. The cloud
debris went this way.
All the way up.
Okay.
There were body parts found all over here. All over Fitterman Hall, all over West Broadway here. There were body parts found. They stopped searching somewhere right around where we're standing, and they never searched over here on Park Place. But they need to. They should have before,
Yep.
and they need to because the landing gear went through the roof of that building. So you can't tell me that people weren't taken with that landing gear. At least.
Of course.
This is ground zero.
So the landing gear the plane hits there, goes through, and it's right here, and it lands.
That's right.
So when you hear the Imam Rauf say, this is not ground zero, I will never do it at ground zero, is he lying?
Yes.
He's a liar.
Yes.
The American people, and certainly New Yorkers now understand exactly, I think, are increasingly understand, and a vast majority understand what's at stake. What is at stake, in your view, as someone who was a first responder, as someone that served with the New York Fire Department, if we do nothing, what's at stake here?
This is the front of a war within America, right here. And we are going to stand up, we are standing up, the families, and the 70% of America that's with us, we're standing up and saying no to this stealth jihad. We're saying no to Sharia law.
You call it a stealth jihad. Why do you call it a stealth jihad?
Because they were trying to do it quietly. They were trying to slide this in.
Right.
As opposed to violent jihad. What happened on September 11th was violent jihad.
Right.
This is stealth jihad. Their goals are the same. They want
domination?
Sharia law in the United States of America, and they want America to be a Muslim nation.
Well, that takes you to the site of Ground Zero, and as you saw from that video, we're talking about inches away. In fact, the landing gear from the first aircraft goes through the building. That's this proposed site for this, as I said, symbol of conquest, which is really what we're talking about. We're going to go right back to our phones. Jordan, who's next?
Let's go to Robert, calling from North Carolina on line 2. Robert, welcome to JSEC Live.
Hi, Robert.
As much as I dislike eminent domain, and I think it's un-American, why isn't eminent domain placed on that area where the mosque is wanting to be built so that the proceeds will go to advance that city?
You actually ask a great question, and interestingly, it's really not an eminent domain question. It's called landmark status. These buildings and some of the buildings surrounded are over 150 years old. They're historic landmarks in that regard. The identical building's architecture, same kind of building by the same developer and architect 150 years ago, is already listed as a National Historic Monument, a National Historic Building. That means you can't take it down. This building should have that same status too. Why doesn't it get it? Because they want to put a mosque there. If you wanted to put a church there, I guarantee they'd say, oh no, it's a historic building. You can't make those kind of structural changes. But because it's a mosque, it gets a free pass. And this is the subversive nature of Sharia law. This is the justification. They call it taqiyya. Say one thing, do something else. Let me play this for you, folks. This is a trailer. This is about 25 seconds of a documentary we put together on this very issue, dealing not only with the mosque at Ground Zero, which is included in this, but it's called The Export, Radical Islam's Map to the End of Democracy. Take a listen to this, 25 seconds.
How significant is the conflict with radical Islam?
Radical Islam intends that all of us live under Sharia law. The enemy is radical Islam.
If Iran gets nuclear weapons, Saudi Arabia will, Egypt will, Turkey, perhaps others. 5 to 10 years, you could have a multipolar nuclear Middle East with half a dozen countries with nuclear weapons. That is a formula for insecurity.
That's John Bolton, former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. That was Oliver North. John Ashcroft's in this. It's a tremendous documentary, folks. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to have it. It's called The Export, Radical Islam's Map to the End of Democracy. We're going to give you that movie. Our gift to you, we want you to sign on to the letter going to the Ground Zero Mosque people saying, look, no mosque at Ground Zero, City of New York. That's not the way it's supposed to work in America. Also, we're going to send you The Export, Radical Islam's Map to the End of Democracy. It's a brand new feature film we've got done, as well as a booklet, Sharia Law, Radical Islam's Threat to the U.S. Constitution. Now, we're going to send all of that to you absolutely free. Jordan's going to let you know how to get it. This is a movie we've not released before, brand new. You're going to want to get it.
You call our toll-free number right now, 877-989-2255. The Export, Radical Islam's Plan to End Democracy, 877-989-2255. Again, The Export, Radical Islam's Map to End Democracy. You call, get that DVD documentary now, 877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255.
Americans know that Ground Zero, the site of the horrific 9/11 attacks at the World Trade Center in New York, is sacred ground. And most Americans, including New Yorkers, understand that this is not the place to build an Islamic mosque. But that hasn't stopped a number of imams from pushing forward with this insensitive project. The American Center for Law and Justice has filed suit to stop the project, and now the ACLJ is in court to convince the court that this is not the place to build a mosque. Thousands of you already have stood with us. Now, with this case in court, it is time to add your name to our committee to stop the Ground Zero Mosque. And if you add your name today, we'll send you 2 key resources: our new film focusing on the dangers of radical Islam, and our new booklet exploring the threat of Sharia law. Stand with the ACLJ, say no to the Ground Zero Mosque, and get these vital resources free, our gift to you. Call now 1-877-989-2255 or online aclj.org.
Welcome back to the broadcast, everyone, and welcome to our television audience as well. You know, whether we're dealing with this issue of the Ground Zero Mosque in New York, or whether we're dealing with the situation in Egypt, the American Center for Law and Justice, our international affiliates around the world, fully engaged on all of these issues, which is very, very encouraging. Because of your support and your friendship with the ACLJ, we're able to do that. We're going right back to our phones. Let's go right to them. A lot of calls are coming in.
Let's go to Bernard, calling from Washington State on line 2. Bernard, welcome to JSEC Live.
Hi, Bernard.
Why is it that Obama supports putting a mosque up in Ground Zero but yet his Justice Department sided with the ACLU on keeping the only World War I monument cross. Why doesn't he support the cross that the U.S. Supreme Court already said it's okay to put up?
Because the same reason you bow down to the King of Saudi Arabia. This is this idea that somehow appeasement, which we have seen in Egypt did not work, as the people took to the street and the Muslim Brotherhood gaining control day by day of Egypt, of all places. But this is the problem. This is the difficulty. They did not support the reestablishment of that Mojave Desert Cross, even though we were successful in court, even though our side was successful in court. We filed a amicus brief on behalf of you and members of Congress. Yet the Department of Justice said, no, we're not going to put it up. But they're supporting a mosque at Ground Zero, at the site of Ground Zero. You got to ask yourself, Jordan, what is the reason they would do this? And it's worse than political correctness. It's appeasement.
Well, that's absolutely right. And you have, again, administration officials that were falling over themselves to endorse the Ground Zero Mosque. And President Obama, you initially remember, came out and supported the thing, tried to retract it a bit, and then was praying that the story would go away. And it did until there was more and more controversy. And so what happens? Because you stay engaged on these issues, Faisal Rauf, who built this big profile and did those mega CNN interviews, he's gone. His profile diminished. Why? Because you spoke out. You said, this is a radical. I hope Muslims don't have him speaking out on behalf of all of them here in the United States. They appoint someone new. They're gone within a week. Why? Because we're putting them under the microscope. They asked for this battle. They said, bring it on. We're going to build this mosque. Look into the backgrounds of the people. We're going to try to be transparent. When they released the name within hours, the truth comes out about who they're associating with.
Let me take you to New York just for a minute here. I want you to go to the memorial site again with Tim Brown. This will just be a minute or two, where you get a sense of what the emotions are still raw at that site when you still people 10 years later putting flowers there every day, visiting the site. Tourists from around the world go to that site. Why? It was the greatest attack on America, and you don't build a monument to those that engaged in that attack. Take a look at this for a few minutes. Here we are, Tim, 9.5 years, over 9 years out now, approaching the 10th anniversary. And I'm looking at this memorial right here, and as I look at it, I'm going to swing around this way, guys, and you kind of follow us. You see the people that are still here, people paying their respects, people that are there's flowers, fresh flowers here. The memorial sites are real, and the American people really understand what's at stake here.
That's right. Americans remember, and it shows in the poll numbers that Americans are with us.
And New Yorkers are with you.
In New Yorkers.
70%. I mean, it started, it was about 52%, right. And now it's at 71%.
Liberal New Yorkers. And the truth of this is that the families are being made victims again. They're being made victims again.
Say that again. Yeah,
the families are being made victims again.
Do you believe that the American people, because of the confluence of this mosque at Ground Zero and the situation that we've gone through, that this is gelling in a way that our enemies never anticipated? It's reuniting us with that same spirit that was here right after 9/11.
This is America. You don't bring your evil to our soil. We believe in equality. We believe in equality among all people. We believe in the separation of church and state. We believe in freedom. For 200 years, that's what's built this great country, and no one is taking that away from us. I will, over my dead body, it will never happen on our soil.
That gives you a sense of what we're dealing with at this mosque at Ground Zero and the fight we're engaged in. But I want to encourage you to do something, folks. We've got a brand new documentary that we want you to have. It's significant. We actually moved up the delivery date by many months because of the situation in Egypt. It's called The Export, Radical Islam's Map to the End of Democracy. Now, it has Oliver North, John Ashcroft, John Bolton, Dory Gold, former ambassador from Israel to the United States, the head of the Mossad, the Israeli Secret Service. All of these experts from around the world. Tim Brown, the firefighter you just saw, is in this documentary as well. It is a full-length feature film. It's called The Export, Radical Islam's Map to the End of Democracy. I want to play for you the trailer for this upcoming film and let you know then how you can get it. Take a listen.
How significant is the conflict with radical Islam?
Radical Islam intends that all of us live under Sharia law. The enemy is radical Islam.
If Iran gets nuclear weapons, Saudi Arabia will, Egypt will, Turkey, perhaps others.
The moment the Iranians have nuclear weapons, they have a nuclear umbrella over their international terrorist capability.
That is a formula for insecurity.
And I'm telling you, target number one is Israel. The Israelis cannot abide that. It is truly an existential threat.
Peace can reign only when everybody comes under the umbrella of Islam.
These 40,000 rockets and missiles on the border with Lebanon could, be sprung and fired against Israel.
The more we have nuclear proliferation in the world, the more the risks are that there will be the availability of nuclear devices, the lethality of which is mind-boggling.
On every September 11, they fire rockets into Israel. Why? To commemorate 9/11.
A proposal to build a mosque and Islamic cultural center near Ground Zero, generating a lot of heat at a hearing in New York City. Opponents want to give landmark status to the 150-year-old building, which would essentially prevent the mosque and center from being built.
They don't want to just take this building and turn it into a mosque. They want a memorial. They want a monument.
A monument, a tower of triumph. That's what they want to build, called Cordoba.
Cordoba is the symbol of them conquering Christian land. I mean, that was not by accident.
They want America to be a Muslim nation.
This is a march of Sharia through our institutions. And what they're trying to do is see how far they can get before there's pushback. And as long as there's not pushback, they'll keep pushing.
If the mosque were allowed to go up and did go up, what symbol does that send?
We might as well just throw the Constitution away.
If we care about remaining the United States that I think we want to remain, we have to pay very close attention to this.
The war on terror is a war that has to be won every day.
Well, there you have it, folks. I want to encourage you, go to your phones right now. We're sending this to you as our gift. We want you to have it. It's called The Export, Radical Islam's Map to the End of Democracy. You just got a sample of what is an incredible full-length feature film from the ACLJ, brand new footage, new interviews. We moved it the release date up, obviously, because of the situation in Egypt. It covers what's going on with radical Islam in the Middle East, as well as what's going on here in the United States. So we're going to send you that, The Export, Radical Islam's Map to the End of Democracy. We're going to send you our booklet on Sharia law, which is an attempt of tyranny to the United States Constitution. So all of this, it's called Sharia Law, Radical Islam's Threat to the U.S. Constitution. So you're going to get that and the DVD, and we want you to do something. We want you to sign on to defeat this mosque at Ground Zero. We think we're going to do it. We're already successful. 2 imams are already come and gone in this particular situation, and the developers are on the run in the courtrooms because of your support. So we want to encourage you. Go to your phones right now. Jordan's going to give you that number. Folks, get these resources. We want to get them in the hands of everybody. You just saw a sample of it that's listening to this broadcast.
Folks, here's the toll-free number you call, 877-989-2255. You got to get this DVD. This is important, folks. 877-989-2255. The Export, Radical Islam's Map to End Democracy. Call and get your free copy now, 877-989-2255, or check it out at aclj.org.
Americans know that Ground Zero, the site of the horrific 9/11 attacks at the World Trade Center in New York, is sacred ground. And most Americans, including New Yorkers, understand that this is not the place to build an Islamic mosque. But that hasn't stopped a number of imams from pushing forward with this insensitive project. The American Center for Law and Justice has filed suit to stop the project, and now the ACLJ is in court to convince the court that this is not the place to build a mosque. Thousands of you already have stood with us. Now, with this case in court, it is time to add your name to our committee to stop the Ground Zero Mosque. And if you add your name today, we'll send you 2 key resources: our new film focusing on the dangers of radical Islam, and our new booklet exploring the threat of Sharia law. Stand with the ACLJ, say no to the Ground Zero Mosque, and get these vital resources free, our gift to you. Call now, 1-877-989-2255, or online aclj.org.